All right. We'll hope for the best. I will go and turn the Instagram on. So we will be live there shortly. There we go. Hello, Instagram.
Hi, Instagram.
And then, we'll be on Facebook and all that stuff later on. So, hi, everybody.
Hey.
I'm Rich Howells from NEPA Scene. Tonight, we're here with Scranton actor, writer, and director Conor McGuigan, whose latest play, Graphic Prince, is part of the Scranton Fringe Festival,
Correct.
running September 28th through October 7th, the
29th.
Entire festival. Oh, the 29th.
Yeah, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah.
In venues throughout downtown Scranton, including this very interesting one that we're in now. Where are we?
We are in the amazing Shakes space, not a space about earthquakes, but about William Shakespeare. Yeah, in the old Steamtown Mall, now the marketplace at Steamtown.
Yes.
And this venue used to be the Gap, and then I think American Eagle, and then it was a place where you could take selfies we were talking about.
Yeah.
So it was a couple different things, but it used to be a clothing store, and now it's a theater, and we've repurposed it, and it's great. We have a black box style theater back there, about 100, 150 seats, and we just got done with an amazing season of Shakespeare Festival, Scranton Shakespeare Festival. We had Othello, we did Rent, Good Man Charlie Brown, and our youth ensemble, did Percy Jackson, Lightning Thief, and Midsummer Night's Dream. So we had a full season all
Wow.
right here in what used to be a clothing store.
I think I'll take the theater over another
Yeah.
Gap or American Eagle any day.
Yeah, I will. I'm biased because I'm an actor, but yeah. Well, what's great is because this was a clothing store, we have like 10 dressing rooms just ready to go in the back.
Okay.
So as far as repurposing, that theater just fits in. Yeah,
That
everybody had
works
their own
right there.
little thing there.
And it's cool because you have this kind of, I don't know what you would call it, a voyeur or something like that.
Lobby.
You would walk in,
We call it the lobby, but
So yeah, this is nice, and there's some really great artwork
Yes.
on the wall here. So we are not surprisingly in a Wes Anderson movie right now.
you wouldn't know it
You
from
would-
what our shot here.
You would think, yeah, but we're actually in front of some artwork by Zach Savada.
Zach Savada, yeah. So we are, the Shake Space does take part in First Friday Scranton, which of course is every first Friday of the month. And so we've been having different artists, and this Zach Savada was our artist for this past month, and wonderful. I've known Zach for years. You've known Zach, wonderful photographer. I ran Test Pattern, the art gallery years ago with him, and so yeah, it was great. It's they look really great on these walls. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Because otherwise, it's a very strange kind of layout in here. So
It is.
with the artwork, I think it really does help kind of tie the room together.
Yeah, it really tied the room together. Yeah, because there's a lot of weird angles in this space. Because again, it used to be a retail store, so like these were shelves where like sweaters and whatever else was going on. So we've some we've had to rip out, but others we just let because it kind of creates little nooks and crannies. And who doesn't love a good cranny?
Who doesn't? Who could refuse
Oh,
a
God,
good
I love
cranny?
a good cranny. Granny's Crannies is one of my favorite websites. It's
Please don't Google that.
No. No, we're happy to be here. So, yes, we are one of the venues for the Scranton Fringe Festival, and I will be having my play here the 28th, 29th, 30th. But there's other plays here as well. But I'm not doing the interview. I'm sorry. I love to talk, everybody.
No, that's
Rich,
why
you steer the ship, buddy.
That's
It
why
is-
we're here,
yeah.
man. We're also going to sit really awkward because whereas this is a beautiful looking couch,
Lush,
not
plush.
not quite the most comfortable thing, but we'll
Yeah.
I think we'll survive. I think we'll get through it.
It's a style over function here.
Right.
Form over function.
So can you maybe start by giving us a little background about yourself and how you got into theater? You've been doing this since you
my
were a
God,
kid?
We're going way back. Yes. Yeah. My first play actually was my father. I was 7 years old. My father and sister were in a weird anti-nuclear war spoof of Alice in Wonderland called Alice in Blunderland.
Wow.
Which explains a lot why I'm the way I am. 'Cause this is what my dad was getting me. So I played a baby oyster. My dad played an oyster. I got to play. Again, I'm born in '78, so this is like '84 or something like that. I think I was like 6 years old.
Yeah.
And so like my one line was like, "But I wanted to go play Pac Oyster because Pac-Man, you see, was very popular."
Okay.
The Namco character. So that was my one line. But then years later, when I was 13 is when I really started acting. I got in my first play in high school. I was 13, and it was a competition play, which is where you go and actually compete against other high schools around the state.
Okay.
You have an hour, kind of like, it actually is very like Fringe. You have an hour to put up your set, do your play, take it down, and then you're judged. No judging really in Fringe, but
Yeah.
so that was my first play, and since then, I wanted to be in everything. I just never stopped acting ever since then.
That's awesome.
And of course, performing in my living room for my family and things like that. But
Well, of course.
that wasn't a union gig, so I don't count that.
Right. So, what was the first time that you wrote your own play?
That's a good question. Yeah, you know what? When was the first play? I went to Alaska years ago for a playwriting competition. I wrote a 10-minute play that was accepted, and it was crazy because it's in Valdez, where the oil spill was.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, I actually got to sit on the bar stool where the captain got drunk that night. However, everybody in Valdez, Alaska says it was not the captain's fault. And the news would put up his picture. He's like, got the beard. He's like looking disheveled. He was actually not on duty that night, they say. It was actually the second in command. I don't know the terms for ships, but whoever the second in command was. So anyway, I was up there for a writing conference, and August Wilson, one of my favorite playwrights, was there. It was the Edward Albee Playwriting Festival. And so I think that was my first play I wrote. It was called The Pledge. Based on a real-life experience that happened to me at the University of Pittsburgh, where one of my directors for an audition made me recite the Pledge of Allegiance over and over as if they were like new words to me, because the Pledge of Allegiance obviously is something we do not even listen to the words. It's just like saying a prayer. Your mind's blank.
Sure.
So he wanted me, and I get the exercise, but I was 17 years old, and he was a jerk. Ooh, if you want to see him, this is a fun fact. Have you seen Silence of the Lambs?
I have.
It's a popular film for the kids.
Yeah.
Well, in one scene, there is this a guy gets his face cut off, and Hannibal Lecter wears it.
Right.
That was my director. He did a couple movies, I guess, small parts.
Okay.
And yeah, so
he was the stunt face, or
well, he was the actor. He's the cop that walks up into the
Wow.
cage. The other guy,
That's awesome.
Napier, Jack Napier's his name, I think. He's a character actor. He's great, but then he was right behind him. And then, yeah, so once I found that out, every time I watch it, I'm like, ha ha. Because he made me feel, there's other stories I won't get into, but yeah, he just wasn't,
Sure.
he was just a mean guy.
So yeah, he had that coming.
Yeah, but anyway, yeah, I wrote this play. It was in Alaska. I think that's the first play I actually wrote. I was 23 years old. Almost died in Alaska, too. Very formative summer.
Wow.
Yeah. Ooh, I went vegetarian, too. And I drove cross country twice. Hell of a summer.
So, as you've gone on, how many, I don't know if you have an exact number, but how many plays have you, wrote and directed and all that kind of stuff together?
Plays, honestly, I've got a small number of plays under my belt, maybe like 10 or something like that. But then I've also done like film projects that I've written and like spoof shows and things. So I've got those as well. So it's not like I've got an armada in my pocket, but I've written a fair amount over the years, and I definitely call myself a playwright at this point. This is my fourth Fringe show at the Scranton Fringe. So, yeah, and I love it. I love it. Stressful directing it then, but writing it's fun.
Yeah, I would imagine. So the Fringe Festival is a very unique way to kind of do these shows. It's how obviously you've done a lot of local theater in all kinds of different venues and things like that. How is it approaching the Scranton Fringe and putting together a show for that? How different is it? Is the preparation different? Things like that.
The preparation's very different because the Fringe is a set number of venues, and this isn't just Scranton Fringe, but Scranton Fringe is, I'm going to say, I don't want to say easier, but it's like, I'm from Scranton. It's a smaller city. And they do a tremendous job and everything like that. But, like, Scranton is one of those cities, like, people and things like that. So if you're from here, it's going to be a little easy. I know Connor O'Brien and Liz Bohan who run it, so I can be like, hey, guys, I have a question. If you're in New York City, I mean, there's 8 million people all competing, so it's kind of like it's colder. I've actually acted in the New York Fringe Festival, and, trying to get into a venue, like they don't want to see you, like they're very cool. So, but still, even with that, the Scranton Fringe, we have these venues, but it's not like you can rehearse in them. So I'm performing in this space, in the Shake Space, on the 29th, the 30th, and October 1st. But I can't rehearse in here until like this coming weekend.
Okay.
So where we've been rehearsing, like you just kind of have to find places.
Yeah.
Now some people, like my sister, also a wonderful playwright, actually got her master's in playwriting, has a show in this as well. And she's performing in the junior ballroom. But hers is a one-person show. So that, you might be able to you can fit into any place.
Sure.
Mine has 6 actors. There's a lot of set blocking. So it's we've been rehearsing in the Bog, which is a lot smaller than this space. So it is one of those things, like when we get in here this weekend or next week and actually get to do our tech rehearsal, it's going to be like, oh my God, there's actually 25 feet we have to fill. It's not just 3 bar stools.
Right.
So that is one of the challenges, is just adapting. You kind of have to have everything ready to go, and then you have your tech, and then you're in there. Whereas when you're rehearsing in a theater, you have weeks. You've been on the stage, and you could leave your props there and things like that. Like,
sure,
can't do that here.
Yeah.
With the Fringe. I would say that's the biggest thing, is just you have to rehearse a play that's not in the venue and then put it right in the venue, which is why a lot of times Fringe shows are a little more easy breezy beautiful. They're kind of like one-person show, two-person shows, or if they are multiple people, like there's no sets. You can kind of just patch it in. Mine is just 3 desks and 3 chairs, really. But I do have like things that depend on like how many paces it takes to get to the edge, and right now I don't know where that is. So we're going to find out in a couple days, but we're all professionals.
Absolutely. Well, the way the audience is going to be set up is kind of interesting too.
Yes.
Is that, I'm sure that is a little bit of a something you have to adapt to.
Absolutely. That's because some audiences, it's just flat. It's just like a movie theater. It's proscenium. There's your audience, and there you are. This one, it's called a thrust, where the audience is kind of like on 3/4. The stage kind of comes into them a little bit.
Yeah.
So as director, you have to think like, okay, I'm angling here. You want to make sure your people aren't staring at butts for too long. To kind of keep things moving.
Right.
And you want to make sure that backs aren't to this side of the audience for too long. Things like that. So it's a little different. And with this space, you could turn it into theater in the round, like I was telling you. Like we do adapt our stages in all different configurations. But so we will be a little bit of a thrust, which is great because you get the action right in the, face of the John and Mary theater goer.
Yeah. Well,
I splash zone.
Remember seeing one of your shows a few years ago at the AFA Gallery, and we're all kind of right there, on top of everybody.
Yeah, that was AFA when it was on Lackawanna Ave on the second floor, right?
Yes,
yeah,
the second floor.
That was my first Fringe show. That was the Dais.
Okay.
And Heather Stewart, who was in that, is in. She's been in every one of my shows. She's a workhorse. I knew her from Electric Theater Company. But that one was an example where it's like they told us it's just
that's it.
a piece of floor, and we just had then rows of chairs. So it's like, and again, that show I designed kind of just be like, we have a table, we have a chair over there, and that's it. This has more entrances and exits. This is there's a lot of entrances and exits. So I have to like figure out now my actors. Yeah. Like exit over the. Well, I'm pointing over there, like you can see it. Anyway, they exit through the audience several times. Now they have to come back on, but now they have to get used to anticipating being there. But now they have to walk 15 feet. So like they have to get used to that in 2 rehearsals, that sort of thing. So, I guess I'm ending my statement there. I had nothing else to say. My brain went.
Well, what I want to get into too is this specific play. What was maybe let's talk about the premise first. What is Graphic Prince about?
What is it about? It's about 55 minutes to an hour. oh God, my spleen. No. What is it about? Okay, it's weird. All my shows are weird, but this one
really?
I know. You would never know it.
Yeah.
Starting in a nuclear holocaust, Alice in Wonderland, when I was 7. This show, okay, how's it described in the booklet? A young guy named Brandon received a letter saying, show up at this weird office. It's in the middle of nowhere of an office building. It's really out of the way. We're going to pay you a lot of money, but he doesn't know what it's for. So he shows up, and it's a small office, and it's just two people. There's Patricia, who's kind of like a ladder climber, and then there's Marvin, who doesn't say much, kind of only talks in idioms and catchphrases and slogans and things like that.
Okay.
That's me. And Heather Stewart is Patricia. Dave Danielowski, again, actually, no, Dave's been in every one of my shows. What am I talking? Dave was in the Deus, duh. Yeah, Dave, and he just started acting in my Fringe shows, but since then got the bug and has been like acting since then.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, so Dave Danielowski's Brandon. So he shows up and he can't really figure out what's going on, and then he meets his prospective new boss named Maeve, who is this. Well, it's played by my wife Jessica McGuigan, because you can't spell NEPA, or you can't spell nepotism without NEPA. Right? Yeah. The fix is in. Yeah. But anyway, she plays this horrible boss who has almost like drag makeup on, like big blue eyeshadow and lips, but she has an eye patch and a big beehive hairdo, and she just doesn't seem like she's from anywhere or like in the right place. Like, she's very out of sorts and loves drama. I don't want to say too much about her, but she just makes everybody in the office very uncomfortable. And Brandon is just trying to figure out what they do there. And when he finds out what they do, it doesn't make much sense. I will just say this weird one-eyed, witchy-looking woman is obsessed with T-shirts. And yeah, Brandon has to make various things with T-shirts, I guess. Yeah, I don't want to say too much, because that's why you'd paid the $15 to come see it.
Sure.
But it is great. And there's spectacle. Oh, there's a maintenance guy, too, played by Dan Brennan, Heather Stewart's husband, because nepotism. And Dan's not an actor, but he helped me out. Last year, or last time I did the Fringe, we did a musical called Quark, which is about subatomic particles. It was a musical, and I don't really do musicals. I don't like musicals, but I challenged myself. I said, I'll write a musical. And Dan was inside. I built a giant kind of head with little rubber arms, and Dan went inside it and drank beer for the show, and he was like our god. And it was a wild show. But Dan, and so since I saw him that he could do that, I said, Dan, you're a maintenance guy in this. And so Dan doesn't talk in this. He just grunts and drinks from a flask. It is the role of a lifetime.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's very miserable and drinks. And so we call that method in the world of theater for Dan. That's anybody who know Dan Brennan. He's great. Very smart man. But yeah, he's also just, it's great that he just jumps in and does this. Yeah, I think, what was the original question? Man, I get distracted.
Well, let's get
what the show is about.
You
described
it very well.
Yeah.
But what's the inspiration behind a
what's
show?
The inspiration
like that? Like, where do you even begin to create a story like that?
I don't know. Okay, I do know one thing. Jess, my beautiful, lovely, incredibly intelligent wife, she's an actress in the area. She's acted in a lot of things, and she normally gets. She's a very attractive woman, and so she gets parts that are like attractive women, and
Sure.
and that's great. I mean, she's obviously not complaining about that, but she thought, boy, it'd really fun to play a villain. She never gets the villain part. She's always like the good person.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, I'll create a villain character, and so I did. And I saw there was a Scandinavian artist called Fever Ray. They're incredible. I think they and their brother used to be part of The Knife.
Okay.
And yeah, and I like them both. But Fever Ray's great, and they have a video for a song called "Even It Out," and they have this drag makeup and this hair, and I said, that is such a crazy look. So I kind of took what they did and just adapted it, put an eye patch on it. And part of it is marketing. I do like marketing. And this play actually is kind of about marketing as well, and banality and creative control of things. But I thought Jess in that makeup with an eye patch is going to look great on a poster. And that's exactly. And from there, I'm like, okay, now let's write a play. I honestly, it's such a bull roar way of writing a play. It's like people are like, oh, I thought of the title, so I just wrote a play. I didn't have a title for a long time. In fact, between you and me, I still don't like the title of this play. It was a placeholder, and afterwards, I like it. It's fine, but I just never. I thought of it like months ago, and I'm like, I'll think of something later. And then Conor O'Brien sent me the email. Hey, we got to fill in the information for your thing. I'm like, I guess it's graphic prints. Because you see, Prince is Prince, but we're a Prints because it's about printing T-shirts with graphic logos. But Dave's character might be the prince to the new empire of things.
Okay.
Yeah, there's levels, I suppose. Let me just sigh real big into the microphone. I hear your viewers love that. No, so that was kind of the inspiration, was just wanted to play a villain. I saw this video. I thought that would be cool. But then once I had this character of this awful kind of woman, I said, what does she do? I'm like, and I love, this is going to sound so heady and stupid, liminal spaces, which is kind of like, you can find stuff on Instagram about this all over the place, like those in between those uneasy hallways and offices, or like empty malls, and like those places that just give you the uneasy. I have dreams of these places all the time. I think that's why I like this. All my nightmares are like liminal space. I get sick to my stomach. So like, yeah, like I thought of like if this character had an office in like the middle of nowhere, like why does it even exist? So that's kind of like what this office is. It's a kind of, now we don't have a set, but if I did, it'd be like a wood paneled, very plain, windowless, kind of just uneasy room like that.
Okay.
Yeah. The end. But yeah, and then I'm not even the only show here. That's the other thing is I got to plug this. It's because Michael Bradshaw Flynn, our Lord and Savior here at Shakespeare Festival, he founded the festival years ago, 12 years ago to be exact. But he is directing a play called Strange America. And that is the other tricky part with doing a Fringe show, is you're not the only show. So I am done. My show is at 7 o'clock on Friday night. And then Michael Bradshaw's Flynn show that he didn't write. I should point out, he's directing it. I want to get the writer here. Well, I'll get it in a second. Anyway, before I describe that show goes on at 8:30. So we're done. You have to be done in an hour. Your show can't be over an hour. So we're going to be done at 8 o'clock, and then we have to get our stuff out, and then have to get their stuff on.
Oh, man.
So that is also part of the harried experience of being in a Fringe.
Yeah.
Is you have to get in, you have to get out. And then on top of it, you have to get like, hopefully, a full house out the door and another full house in. But I just want to, the magazine, I should have this memorized. But yeah, it's Strange America. I just want to get the playwright. Oh my goodness, I can't find the playwright in my text. I do know it was a finalist a couple years ago. The Scranton Shakespeare Festival had a play contest, and this was one of the finalists.
Oh, cool.
And it's a wild. Mine's a dark comedy, but this is also a dark comedy. A couple that's having some problems is going in the Pacific Northwest, and they stop in a roadside, I want to say museum kind of area, a shop with a bunch of quirky characters, and dark comedy hilarity ensues.
Okay.
Yeah. I did see, like I said, I haven't seen the whole thing, but I saw 10 minutes of it in this contest that we were part of. And it was very, very funny. And that is going to be going on the 29th, 30th, and 1st, just like mine, but at different times. We can share all that information in the end. And then the week after us, that's the other thing, is the Scranton Fringe runs 2 weekends. So the week after us, then in the same space, Simone Daniel, another a West Sider, but we won't hold that against her. A fine Lebanese girl from West Side. I love her. Simone Daniel. No, great director. She just directed Rent here this past summer. And she did a great job. She directed a lot of things for the Fringe, or for the Shakespeare Festival of years. But the play she's directing is called Madam and Eve, and it's a one-act play written by Nicole Duncan, and it's a pastor's daughter finds herself drawn to the new female worship leader. And there's more to it, but that's the first sentence. So it's got that kind of tone to it.
Nice.
So yeah, Shakespeare, 3 different plays over 2 weekends.
So, would you, if you're a patron walking around, or would
Mm-hmm.
you recommend, like, kind of making a day of it and seeing a whole bunch of these things?
Honestly, I would. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
that's the other thing about the Fringe as a patron is, yeah, you can get a hopper pass. You can go to all the shows, any show you want, or
Yeah.
if you just want to see one of our shows, it's $15. You pay the $15, you go inside.
Okay.
But obviously, there's a lot of cool plays, so the hopper pass might be a better benefit for you. And over 2 weekends, you can see these. You can see my sisters and things like that. And mine, there's 6 different venues, something like that. I forget. These booklets, I guess I should show you that. These booklets are all over town, and you can find out everything. Or you can just go to scrantonfringe.org and find information too. But yeah, I would definitely say make a day of it. Compare, take notes,
For sure.
and then give your own NEPA scene type review on your Instagram page.
Well, there and so you have a couple of weeks to go through this whole thing.
Yeah.
The Fringe Festival seems to offer something really different every year.
Yeah.
What are maybe some of the interesting things that you've seen over the last few years?
Oh, man.
That maybe you got to witness.
I was going to say, there's been a lot of great plays I've seen. Well, also the other thing is when you're in the plays, it's so tough because you have
Right.
these times, so you don't get to see as much as you
don't-
want.
Sure.
And so I've seen a lot of great things, and I also love they don't just do things for adults; they also have things for kids, and they have children's plays and things like that, and they even have silent discos that are part of the Fringe, where people have the speakers and they have 3 different DJs, and you change your headphone to whichever DJ you want to hear. But they're even having one for kids, a kid silent disco this year as well. But yeah, there's been so many really cool one-person shows. I've loved seeing the venues that they've used over the years. Like Connor and Liz really think outside the box of what can be used for a venue. We're an established theater, but some places aren't. Like the AFA Gallery, we were performing in an art gallery, that sort of thing. But
Yeah.
other places have been like storefronts. I remember seeing a one-man show in a small place next to Northern Light, one of those little storefronts,
yeah.
things like that. It was a yoga studio. That's what it was. So they turned a yoga studio into a theater the one time. And the thing with Fringe shows is they are always non-traditional because these are people like myself out there. Like, I wrote a play I'd like to share with the world, but I'm not going to go through off-Broadway and things like that. I just want to do it now and put it up, and it's fun, and you do it with your friends, and yeah, it's got such a great energy to it.
So, going back to, graphic prints and, creating your own show and stuff like that. Is there a way that maybe you, in this case, you started with a character and then
Yeah.
you came, the show came of that.
Yeah.
Did all of your other shows start that way as well, or is it different each time?
It's different each time. I mean, inspiration always comes from wherever you least expect it. And yeah, like the dais, I have a fascination for the deluge of B entertainment that came out of the 1970s. And so I wrote an entire thing about it. It was kind of like a roast, or it was supposed to be a celebration of this old 70s actor and all these everybody played like a 70s style actor on there were just so many bad TV shows in the 70s. Bad/great. They're just there are so many. And so it was just a show making fun of how much bad entertainment came out in the 70s. I mean, not that great entertainment comes out now. It's whatever.
Sure.
And then I had another one called After School Special, because after school specials were a really popular thing in the 70s and 80s. And they're very, I don't know if you've ever seen them, but it's kind of like, oh, my brother has a drug addiction, or
Yes.
there's a bully at school. There's always a lesson. And they always had ridiculous names. So I wrote one where I'm like, what if I wrote a play where every single bad thing that happens to one family in one day? And so it's all about moving. They're getting divorced. They're smoking. They're doing drugs. Every bad thing happens. So that's I just wrote that because I'm like, that would be a funny premise.
Yeah.
And then the musical one was just because I'm like, you know what? Let's see if I could write a musical. I just wanted to challenge myself.
Yeah.
And I have a love for science and things like that. And so I read about subatomic particles. They're the tiniest. Quarks are the tiniest thing known to man, just about. And so I wrote a thing where this godhead makes 4 quarks to record all of history, and then report back to him so he could win a contest with other gods. I'm telling you, when I say them like that, they don't sound fun, but trust me, it was a smash hit. Oh my God, there's a phone. That's my wife trying to call me. Not today, Jess. Yeah. So, sorry, my phone's ringing. I forgot it was under my butt. So yeah, they all come from different, and then the pledge, like I talked about, was from a life experience. Yeah.
So is the temptation there to like write the best character for yourself every time, or are you
No,
generous enough that you're kind of giving that?
I don't like to give my. In fact, in this one, I definitely don't. This one, I purposely gave my character very few lines because I knew I had to direct it, and because I will say this is the most play one that I have. Like I wrote this script, and we're really grinding out blocking and really figuring out beats and things like that, and I knew I had a focus, so my character is just lines here and there. Everybody else has a lot of great fun parts, and I like my part, but I did it because I knew I had to like watch. I do have one tirade in the middle where I talk for like a page straight. It's very and Waiting for Godot, Lucky has a thing like that. He talks for like 2 straight pages or something. So it's a little nod to that. It's not exactly like that, but it's in the style of.
Well, having seen a couple of things that you've done over the years, one of the things that I like, that I enjoy, I think is interesting, is you have very specific tastes and things that you're interested in that other people might not, even like 70s television, for example, and those types of things. So with those little kinds of details and things there, you're going to have a specific vision that nobody else is going to have. It's not like you're taking inspiration from something anybody would do. So like in a one of the other things I thought of is you do the trivia night at the Bog.
Yes, I do. Sunday nights at 8:00.
So, which means you probably know a lot of obscure facts about different topics and things like that you would do through your research and things like that.
100%.
Has that knowledge ever played into anything that you do creatively, whether
100%.
it's plays or as an actor or in general? That played into that.
Oh, absolutely. There's little things that just stick in my head. I'll be writing, like something will crop up in my head. I'll be like, oh yeah, that. Like I can't describe it because I don't have like a concrete, but I just know. Yeah. And my head is like, I memorize sounds very well. Like I'm a quick study for theater. Whatever DNA I got, like as soon as I hear like a bit of a cartoon or a TV show or whatever, like it's in there. Like if it sticks.
Yeah.
And so like that happens all the time while I'm writing. Like I'll just start writing something. I'm like, oh, that's like an advertising slogan from like the 1980s. Like delete it. Like there's just like little things that get stuck in there.
Yeah.
But then facts, absolutely. I mean, again, I don't have a concrete, but I definitely know, like, my brain is always just like, oh, yeah, you could definitely put in that because you learned about I made a whole show one time about the history of Scranton. It was supposed to be a series, but I only got one episode done. But that was because, again, I was doing research for trivia stuff, and I found all this stuff about Scranton. I'm like, I'm going to make a TV show.
Yeah.
So it definitely comes into play.
Do you now? Where do these things have any kind of Scranton influence in the shows at all?
Let's see. This one, no. This one doesn't. Well, I will say at one point I do say I'm a lucky girl, hooray, oh boy. I will say, I have to throw in. I can't not.
Right.
I'm wearing a shirt, goddamn it, that says Scranton #1 superstar. So none of them really have anything written into them, but I feel like, I always end up throwing like a little throwaway line, but none of them are tied to Scranton per se. I'm saying that like anybody's going to check and be like, you're wrong. Something in the comments. Not that I can think of, aside from my Behold Scranton TV show, which obviously was called Behold Scranton.
Yeah, it's about as Scranton as it's probably more Scranton than The Office, really. I mean,
very much so. Yes, I go all the way back to the Isaac Tripp and the Lenni Lenape Indians. Yeah, it was all about the Lenape tribe. Well, that was the first episode, so I really did start like back with like Native Americans and like the Lenape tribe that was here and why they were here. Dinosaurs, I talked about how they came to be coal. I made claymation. I
think it's floating around on YouTube.
Yeah, it's out there somewhere. I haven't watched it in years because I made it so purposely. Like again, I love 70s culture, and old children's TV shows are slow. They're very slow, and I kept to that pace because I'm an idiot. It was just like, yeah, they're very stolid, and I probably could have made it a little quicker, pick up the pace. But what are you gonna do?
Would you ever want to revisit that at some point?
I would actually. I started filming the second episode. I have footage from it. My friends, because all my friends were just doing reenactments of like, there was the Yankee Pennamite War was a war between the Pennsylvanians and Connecticuts, and George Washington. My friends playing George Washington, things like that. But I would actually like to come and revisit that because I had fun with it.
So, what are some of your favorite characters that you've gotten to play over the years? Well, it doesn't have to be just yours either.
Oh,
just,
yeah,
in general,
well,
as an actor.
I will say, here at the Shakespeare Festival, they've bounced around for a long time. Finally, we got a nice little theater here in the Mall, the marketplace. But with them over the years, I got to play Macbeth in 2016, and that was a blast. A lot of sword play and just really good. And I got to play Claudius 2 years ago. That was the 10th anniversary. We were down at the iron furnaces because we were coming out of COVID, and so we couldn't really commit to an indoor venue because we had been working with prep for a while, and it was just kind of like we didn't know. So they got the iron furnaces. So we were outdoors, but with this huge. I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it's got the giant.
Yeah, it's
a
beautiful.
It was really cool looking to be out there.
Yeah,
and that one I was actually going through radiation treatment for cancer during that. And let me tell you, if you ever want to do some Shakespeare and radiation, don't do it.
It sounds draining.
I really wanted to play Claudius.
So many ways.
I was offered the role, and after the audition, and I said I got to do it. And I talked to the doctors, but it was playing Claudius was, and I played the ghost at the same time, so I did both. Also, years ago, we did a show by George Cohen called The Vagabond, right? Oh my God, my character's name is The Vagabond, right? The Vagabond. Oh God, Michael Flynn's gonna kill me. But it's a great show. It's like this. Everybody's like this off the wall, kind of over the top caricature of humans, and he's just like this traveler who walks into a bar and is just taking everything. It's a really good show. Those are a couple off the top of my head. I guess I'll say those on top of playing Marvin in Graphic Prince, September 29th, 30th, and October 1st.
I hope you're feeling better too after.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, no, that's I now I don't do this with other people who have cancer, but you can always make cancer jokes with me. I would never do this to somebody else, but I'm obviously cool with it.
Well, I'd imagine that's
it doesn't bother me.
Someone who's writing dark humor plays probably has that kind of sense of humor. That that's how you would deal with something like that.
Yeah. Well, on top of it, also, I never had a dire outcome. Like, I had to go through treatments, but like nobody ever gave me like, it's going to be 4 months. That's terrible. I've had many friends who have died of cancer. It's awful. I only joke because I was never in any danger. I just had to go through the crappy treatments. Boy, we got real grim here, didn't we?
Right.
Can't bring up that cancer and keep it light, can you?
All right. Well, we'll
let me tell you about my oncologist.
We'll stay in the darkness for a minute because I want to talk about.
I want to talk about the time I was coughing up blood in the shower. Let me tell you how dark. Sorry. I'm an idiot. I'm sorry. Yeah. So anyway,
I just saw you in 1984.
Oh yeah, that was a blast. Speaking of fun,
travel back to 1984. We saw the play adaptation of George Orwell's 1984.
Yeah.
Although this does definitely feel like some kind of weird time trip thing.
It does. Yeah, we're in between time here.
Yeah. And you played the bad guy.
I was going to say, talk about a fun role to play. I wasn't thinking of the immediate past here. Yeah, that was a blast. O'Brien in that was a really fun, because I mean I don't really talk until like 40 pages in, but then I don't shut up for like 20 minutes. Like my character just tortures.
Yeah, you got a big long scene, which is a torturous scene for the audience too, to have to watch,
to have to listen to me, man.
Oh
you're a jerk.
Jesus.
But yeah, no, it is. We had people leave Friday night.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah, so 2 people walked. I think when they were ripping the teeth out of the guy. And now I heard when they did that show, like in New York on Broadway, people were leaving because I'm sure they probably had like, I think their visuals might have been graphic and things like that. We didn't go in full into the graphics, but you hear they're really Tic Tacs hitting a metal bowl. But you see that and he's spitting out blood. But it did it for a couple people. They had to leave. But that was that was a blast. I felt so bad. The guy playing the hero there was so nice, and I felt so bad. I'm like grabbing his face and I'm throwing him on the floor, and this poor guy. I'm really a nice guy.
Well, when we posted the press release for it, I was like, I have to use the picture of you grabbing this poor guy's
right,
face.
Yeah.
You know, like, because they gave us this nice cast picture, and I'm like, but that's the picture people are going to want to click on.
This cell. That's the cell. That's the sizzler.
Right?
What's going on there? There were some cool photos that came out of that.
Do you get to play the villain very often?
Honestly, yeah. I'm like the opposite of my wife, where she's always like the ingenue or whatever. I rarely get to be the hero. Years ago, Electric Theater Company, another great theater company that's no longer with us, but a lot of great roles. I got to play Captain Blunchley in Arms and the Man by George Bernard Shaw, and it's a Shavian play, definitely. It's 3 acts, and it's very regal, and it's fun. But I was the hero. I was like the love interest. But it's like one of the few times I'm always like Macbeth, bad guy. Claudius, bad guy. Well, that vagabond, that one, that was actually a good guy. But a lot of times, I am the bad guy, and I'm not sure why. That's been my directors see me, and they're like, we're gonna put you in that seat. But I have fun with it, so But I'm never the guy making out with the girl at the end. Oh, well. My life sucks.
Well, I mean...
It's terrible being a middle-aged white man in this country.
Oh, yeah, it's very, very
When
impressive.
are things going to happen for me? I'm joking, kids. I'm joking.
So let's talk about Scranton Fringe as a whole. We want to, plug. There's so many shows going on.
Oh my God, there's a whole booklet.
We got this
here.
whole guide here. You can go to scrantonfringe.org.
Scrantonfringe.org, and you can buy your tickets there in advance if you want, $15. But you'll see, and it's very, very easy. You can click on whatever plane, you can buy the tickets right there. Or if you've got a shorter buying cycle in the youth market. Bunch of BS words. You like to buy at the door, you can do that as well. But if you want to make sure you have a seat, because I tell you, that graphic prints, that's a hot ticket. You might want to buy that in advance. The Space at Olive is a venue. The Shake Space, the Cultural Center Junior Ballroom. And by the way, my sister's play is Remember You Must Die. You should see that. It's a whole play about death, but it's funny. My sister's obsessed with death. She's terrified of it, so she wrote a play about it. It's very funny.
Well, I mean, that's how you deal with it, really.
Yeah. That is. Face your fears, right?
Yeah.
We got the Children's Library venue. We got Lackawanna College. There's a lot of different plays. You can find these booklets over town or scrantonfringe.org. And I think this is the 9th year for it, which is crazy.
Yeah. That flew by fast.
It did fly by fast. I think... And also, there's, if you want to, the Scranton Fringe Festival kickoff party on Thursday, December 28th at 5:30 at Groove Brewing.
Oh, there we go.
And I'll be DJing because it's one other job I do.
Yeah, you were a man of many talents.
I don't like to sit still. I can deliver flowers too. I've done that. I bartend, wait tables, do it all.
What outside of this type of thing, what's your favorite of all those?
Of all the jobs?
Yeah, of all those
outside of
crazy
theater
jobs, yeah.
Ooh, boy. I don't know. DJing. Oh my God, DJing. When I DJ, it's really a drag performance. I'm not in drag, but I literally am acting. I mean, I'm just performing. I love to lip sync to my songs I play. I'm not like the hot request line. I'm just kind of playing what I like. At the Bog for years, I'd be dressed up in spandex and glitter and things. I had a blast. DJing is one of my favorite things in the world. And dancing. Does dancing count?
Oh, absolutely.
I love dancing. I don't
Yeah.
get paid for it, but I love it.
So, what's next for you after the Fringe wraps up? Do you have
After
any
the
other projects coming up?
Yes.
Anything interesting to talk about or plug before we wrap up here?
Yeah. Trying to think. Actually, my next theater project is actually going to be, I don't have the exact dates, but it is going to be here at the Shake Space. We did one last year. Now, I don't know in what respect I'm going to be involved in it, but I was part of it last year. It was the Panto play, and Panto is a style of theater from England that happens around the holidays. The family goes, and like last year we did Snow White and the Seven Scrantonians, and it was theater in the round. Now with every Panto, there's a character called the Dame, and it's always a guy in drag. It's usually some guy in your community over in England. You know, it's the town plumber. But he gets in drag, and he just tells, like, stupid jokes and things like that, like things that might be a little cheeky, a little blue. So there's, like, jokes from mom and dad, and then the kids are singing along.
Okay.
There's lots of songs. So we're doing that again. It was so popular last year, and we kind of used it as, like, kind of like a benefit for the theater. And so we're doing it again this year, and it's going to be Jack and the Beanstalk.
Oh, cool.
And again, there's going to be like a dame character, and there's going to be all this goofiness. And what they do with these pantos is they're always tied to the area. So like it was Snow White and the Seven Scrantonians, this 100% will have a ton of Scranton references. Because when you're in England, when you're in Newcastle, there's Newcastle references. When you're, in Bristol, there's Bristol references. So same thing here. And it just took off. People didn't know what panto was. But boy, did the Scranton community take to it pretty good. We got great crowds and lots of laughs, and I almost broke my leg in a dance number. So
the one time the dancing maybe wasn't.
I did a jump split. I leapt in the air and I split. My wife is like, "Connor, you're 44. Take it easy." And I said, "It wasn't me. It was my boot. It slid. Definitely not my age. Couldn't be that." Mercy. Yeah.
So really cool, interesting stuff coming up. Not only here, but all across downtown Scranton.
Yeah. Like I said, with this Fringe, man, it's so great. Ninth year, venues all over, people, different actors. I mean, it's one of my favorite things going. And the fact that we now have a crosshair of my favorite things. I love the Scranton Shakespeare Festival, and I love the Scranton Fringe, and here I get to be kind of part of both in this space. So I'm, what do the kids say? Stoked.
That reminds me of a completely aside a story. One of the things that bugs me about maybe some other media around here, I won't mention who, but they I'm very much a quote guy where I will sit there with the recorder and I'll play it back 100 times to make sure I got your quote exactly right the way that you say it. And I talked to this band the one time, and they're like, "Yeah, you're the second person to interview us, and we weren't sure if we really wanted to do it, but we really liked how you did it." The other guy that interviewed us from the other place, he just made up all our quotes. He never actually. He just kind of like sketched down what he was, what they were saying.
Well,
so he kind of had an idea, and he said he only quoted me once in the whole article. And he said how stoked I am for the show. And I will tell you, I have never said the word stoked in my entire life. And that's what he decided to put in my mouth.
That is
for
wild
the article.
To just create. I could see if your quote was like, he said, "All right, the show is Friday at 8." And you're like, 8 o'clock, the show is Friday. Whatever.
Yeah.
Nope, you're just creating stoked.
Yeah, you just out of the blue just came up with that.
Wow.
And then put that in someone else's mouth, and then
that is rewriting history.
And that may be the only article they ever get written about them in their lives. You never know,
right?
So like
and
you just and there it is. The one quote that they have out there that you can find on the internet is that they're really stoked.
They're stoked.
So whenever anyone says they're stoked about something, for some reason,
that
always just pops in my head.
And he's never going to say stoked now ever again.
No, he's never going to say that.
I'll say it for him. I say it all the time. I'm stoked right now to be sitting next to Rich.
I am stoked to be able to do this.
Yeah.
This was a lot of fun. Something different in terms of our venue here. You'll find out soon, maybe why we did it here instead of somewhere else. But yeah, this
Yes.
worked out really well.
Secrets.
And so thank you for opening up a little early here. And
Oh,
making
yeah,
this,
of course.
making this
No.
happen.
I am so happy you asked me to do this. Because my sister was on NPR and she had an interview, and it's the other people. Man, I'm like, man, I didn't call. I put posters up, but I'm like, I just kind of fell backwards on this. So thank you very much, Rich, for doing that.
Yeah, you're very welcome.
And I'm really happy to plug everybody else's show too. Like, you're really see Graphic Prince, sure, but see Strange America, see Madam Eve, see my sister, see them all.
Absolutely.
See them all.
And you can't see it right now, but there's a glitter wall over there.
Yeah, there's a
that
glitter
you have
wall.
to witness for yourself.
When you see one of the shows here at the Shake Space, located in the marketplace at Steamtown, the first floor, by the escalator, after the show, take your picture in front of the glittery wall.
Yeah.
And buy a candy bar from Marion Hart or from Don McGurl.
So that's Scranton Fringe Festival, the kickoff party, September 28th, I believe you said. And then
Yes.
September 29th through October 7th in venues throughout downtown
venues all
Scranton.
over. Yeah.
So make sure you check out Shake's Place. There's actually something cool to see at the mall. There was a lot of white space out there. A lot of interesting storefronts and things. I kind of did some exploring before we did the interview here. But, yeah, definitely check out this place. This is really awesome.
Yeah,
And,
it's a great use of the venue.
Yeah, I mean, the venue back there and everything. And they even they had some bands here last
Electric
week.
City
for
Music
the-
Conference, yeah.
Yeah, so that's really cool. So, yeah, maybe we'll see some more cool stuff pop up here. But
Yeah.
you guys got to go out and support it. So.
Yeah, we definitely we have events planned months in advance. We should have a poster in the window. We don't right now, and of course I can't remember what's next. But we will have events, and you can go to the Scranton Shakespeare Festival has its own website as well, so you can check that out.
All right, sounds good. Well,
Right.
thanks so much for sitting down with
Could
me.
we end on one of these?
Yeah, let's do one of these.
Yeah. I just bought an RV. That's what it feels like.
Congratulations, sir.
Thank you. My first RV. All right, I don't know what I'm talking about. I have to go to rehearsal now.
All right.
All
Have
right.
a good night,
Thanks
everybody.
a lot. All right.